specialized in both growing sales at startups and large-scale corporations. She has proven C-level partnership development and networking skills in building strategic collaborations with robotaxi providers, R&D facilities, and tech suppliers. Well structured and highly motivated by the future of AI technologies, she is a multilingual, cross-cultural team builder with a can-do attitude and the ability to define and develop successful business strategies. She is passionate about building, leading, and mentoring highly motivated and efficient international cross-functional teams. Systems engineering, software engineering in PHP, Prolog, Java, C++, Python, HTML, JS, SQL, REST, JSON, enterprise and systems architecture, cybersecurity, AI, Gen AI, machine learning, big data management, non-SQL, RLDB, research in AI, quantum computing, sustainability in AI, and data science are her technical strengths. She's focused and entrepreneurial and thrives in the fast-paced dynamic environments with a specialty in grasping, analyzing, and resolving highly complex situations quickly and accurately, while cultivating collaboration and interpersonal relationships and creating win-win situations. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you very much for inviting me here. I'm very honored to be, and I'm also very thankful to you all, the audience. So a big applause to all of you because you're still here. So I usually like to do my lectures very interactively, precisely because I'm usually, and sometimes when this happens to me, the last presentation before lunch. And I know you're all hungry, and I won't keep you too hungry. So to make it interactive, what I want to talk to you about is about quantum computing. How many of you know what quantum computing is? Raise your hand. Okay. So quantum computing is based on quantum entanglement. So the laws of quantum mechanics. Now raise your hands, whoever here knows what quantum entanglement means. All right, so because I'm in India and I've been learning quite a lot about their culture these past days, I'm going to explain this very simply. And because today is also the 14th of February, so Valentine's Day, I'm going to explain quantum entanglement the following way. Think it is a Bollywood love movie about the love triangle. And at the beginning of the movie, you have a girl with two boys, and you don't know which boy the girl is going to get. And then some things start to happen, different situations in the movie, a lot of different states. And then there's a lot of dancing. See that? And then there's the final outcome and a big, big party. So quantum entanglement is very similar, and that is one of the main challenges in quantum computing. So what is the difference between a quantum computer and a regular computer? Well, the number one thing is the structure. A computer, you hold it in your hand right now, and you see it's all integrated, an IC, an integrated circuit. A quantum computer is actually, as you can see then, right here at the very far left. Number one, based on this physics, in that they run in parallel, these two qubits, as they're called quantum bits. That means they execute an activity at the same time. But just by the same form of my example, it's very difficult to know what the outcome is going to be. Because at the very first measurement, whenever it's observed, it changes its state. So similar to the log triangle, we don't know at the very beginning exactly what's going to be the outcome. So it's very error prone. It's used for very fast computations. And the way that we do it is that at the very core level, is what you see is the hardware. It's cooled down using liquid hydrogen to 0 Kelvin. That's absolute zero, very close to absolute zero. On the sides, what you see in the top, that is cooled down to 100 mile of Kelvin. And this is the power mechanism. Yeah, so on the top and on the sides, what you see are GPUs and TPUs that are used as an operative software system in order just simply to check what is going on. Is the output correct or not? And then there is the computers on the right side, which are where the fun starts, which is the one I'm going to talk about, which is what we call the quantum emulation. When we're really using that particular outcomes for any kind of use cases, be it AI, Gen AI, blockchain, or machine learning. So quantum information, as I mentioned, is used for very high computation. I'm having trouble trying to. Computer hub, and the quantum computer hub has actually 4 computers, one of them from IBM, the other one from AWS, and 2 from the Technical University in Zurich. So for that particular system, we are accessing it using AWS, but just like what you would have with any standard application, you would have your data, you would have your particular user access layer, you would have what would be the data integration, and then you would have the layer with all the area for the particular business cases that we want to do. So what are the advantages versus conventional computing? So agility in architecture, design for scalability, security consideration, and improved database performance, which means that quantum computing is able then to create very complex mathematical algorithms. So it can use and be used for cryptography and life sciences, which are the main use cases that we're using right now in our research. So you can see here now a simplification. So from the source system, we're getting all the different data, and data has already been said by the previous presenters, is the basis for any good model in AI. But the point is, how do you know you have the right data? What do you think was the choice that that girl from that love boy would be making for the right boy? Is it fulfilling the particular requirements? And so just like sometimes girls might have a list of what's the perfect man, also for the particular use cases, there's a particular need for the right data for quantum computing. So we were accessing over the cloud in AWS, and then we were using what would be then Glacier in order then to first make the entire data scanning. And then we were using here also generative AI principles in order then to understand and talk to the data regarding if the data was qualitative or not. And then we're using quantum redshift. It's also based on Oracle database in order then to run the particular simulation of the use case that we were doing. And then in Amazon S3, processing the outputs out and creating the particular reports and data extract on SAS. This is a very simplified view. Some information is that the German government has invested 720 million to support right now the transition in quantum technology. In Switzerland, also we have over 500 million US dollars in research. So we have a cooperative project along different universities worldwide. But as you can see, the USA, China, as well as other countries are all investing in quantum computing. Why do you think it is, even though it is such a rare application? Number one, because you can do what I call AI for good. In the case of healthcare, for example, less than 2% of all medicines or medical care are made targeted at facilitating the healthcare of women or young girls. So yes, that means that when you're taking ibuprofen when you have a headache, for example, and you're a female, that actually was made mainly thinking about male patients. So with using quantum computing and the ability to be able to process petabytes of data in days and not weeks and not months, we're able then to advance the research for a better care, for personalized care. So how does a quantum algorithm at the software application level works? So there's different kind of structures that we use. In this case, I'm using a life sciences approach for treatment in regards to finding if a particular medicine is adequate for the genotype and healthcare history of a particular female patient or female patients, which is what we're researching. And we start here creating the mathematics and the algorithms based on a particular use case. For example, using quantum annealing to simulate the structure of the molecules to determine if the medicine is adequate. Then we're using a neural network in order to mimic the structure of the human brain, the structure of a particular person. Think a human digital twin. Then we use quantum cryptography because, of course, we want to ensure that this data is secure, that nobody wants to have their data exposed on the internet, for example. Then we use accessing, as I mentioned already, with the quantum cloud. And then we build the AI on this, what we call quantum cognition. Quantum cognition is where we have, imagine, a group of experts, think about several doctors, several scientists that know the different treatment options, risk assessments, and lifestyle choices data. And when you go to the doctor, it asks you, well, do you smoke? Do you drink too much alcohol? Or are you healthy? Do you do exercises? Similar to how that medical doctor would make a decision to make a particular diagnostic or a particular health control. This AI does the same, but this AI is using petabytes of data by the millisecond. So that is here one of the changes. And then of course we have quantum machine learning that we're using it to identify the patterns. And just again, to use the example of the girl, there's several states happening along the movie that makes it decide and learns, this is the right partner, this might be the wrong partner. The same thing quantum machine learning uses to understand and predict patient outcomes, to be able then, and what is the benefit here? Much more accurate diagnostic, because it's using the precise genomic type and the precise history type of every single person. That means for the very first time we will be having, within 3 years, personalized treatment, personalized clinical treatment and medicines for people. And for a particular point in this particular research study that we're doing, also making it more cost effective. That means in certain countries, give it a fair price than what would be in the developed countries. This reduces considerably the research and development costs. So how does it look like? I'm sorry that I'm not presenting every single slide because I've been told I only have half the time that I planned. So number one, we need the database that you saw at the beginning. The different ones, we have the different collection of medical images, could be MRI scans, CT scans, X-rays, and then you start processing the data, and then start using the machine learning to identify the different features, textures, patterns, and then you've seen, or we've heard also from the previous presenter that it's right now a challenge because of race, because of the particular then different patterns of different skin colors. It's very difficult to identify if there was a cancerous particular skin piece or not. So through this, we're able then to use the algorithm and give it all the proportion, all the colors, and all the different N plus N combinations. And that way it is much able to detect tumors and cancerous tissues in images because it has all these different type of data. And at the same time, we use also quantum image processing to interpret and reconstruct every output. That means we do have a human in the loop because of the error correction mechanism at the moment to say, yes, this is actually what could be then a cancerum for a person of color or for a brown person or for a white or yellow person. And these are not. So by doing that, through this validation and verification of the images, the algorithm learns within 1 day and then starts generating synthetic data of the light in order then to become smarter. So from this, we're able then for the very first time to have a gathering of insights, a different identification of variables, and then start encoding this in the qubits. And one of the key benefits, because this is a school of business, so I'm bringing you here the 2 business cases that I created and I'm postulating this hypothesis with my team, the research that we're doing, that we say this is the first time that we can use price optimization. So creating market dynamics, pay parity pitches, and government regulations, and bringing about broadcasting, like I said, to a fair price for the right particular geographical locations. And at the same time, we're able then to reduce the costs. Why? Because the effectiveness, not just during R&D, but also during production and the particular target groups, that means the supply chain manufacturing management would be benefited. Why? Because they would know for which data, for which particular patient that could be needed, that could be used. So if there is, for example, during the pandemic, it was very difficult to establish how much vaccine was needed and how much vaccine was not needed, and also the particular factors of transportation and temperature and adequacy. And there has been, of course, then serious adverse effects, because there was not enough time to test. And this, in a very short time, considers a lot more, but not 10 of the thousands of different combinations to see if there will be an adverse effect. So there is here a particular then positive impact, because there's also then an optimized result, but also in the particular supply chain, hospitals would be able then to have the particular medical supplies when needed, and the same thing as the availability, and for which, let's say, particular groups it would be useful and for which not, and that way reducing waste. But then, of course, there are a lot of challenges still, and that's my motivation for all of you here today. There are still computer science or mathematics. We need you in the research collaboration space. Why? Because qubits are still very fragile, and if we're going to advance in quantum computing, this is a collaboration task in which we need physicists, we need chemical engineers, we need, of course, computer scientists, mathematicians. All of us are working together, even right now, in order to be able to reduce the size and the error complexity in quantum computers. Just to give you particular idea how big our computer is double the size of this room. That's how big a quantum computer is at the ETH center. And the very first computers were actually also very big, and now everybody has them in their pockets. Why? Because of people like you able to discover the mathematical, the mechanical, or electrical or electronical findings that were able to make that happen. And here's where we need you with your new novel ideas to help us solve these particular issues. Not just from the mechanics, but also from the particular hardware development and the software development. And here, I would like to tell you something. The current programming languages were not made for quantum computing. That is one of the biggest challenges we have. So maybe one of you might invent the right and correct programming coding language that would allow to bring us to a true quantum leap. Of course, the high cost. Yeah, there's very, very few quantum computers in the world. Prove alone just the size, but then of course the challenges with the high temperature. Yeah, it's an issue. There could be, let's say, some skill resource shortage, and that's why I'm mentioning here in order to motivate you to study any of these fields and then also quantum computing or quantum mechanics. So who's working with us right now? So our partners are Cognizant, are IBM and Google. So we decided, and of course AWS over Rigetti. So we decided then to go with them because they have the biggest qubit 128 size. And then this was when we started this project 2 years ago. That was before Microsoft had a breakthrough with the microchip that is able to reduce by 50% the errors. So at that time, in 2023, when we started, was Rigetti with the superconducting circuits, having the framework with the biggest qubit size for reducing errors. So how exactly does it look like? And so just very, very simple. Look at the table here in the middle. We start programming to every single qubit a particular parameter. For example, for a particular person, a qubit 1, the oxygen level of a person, and we give it again binary values. And all of these they run in parallel. So normal or normal, heart rate high, heart rate normal or not, respiratory rate normal or not, respiratory rate high or low. And then the surface starts sinking, starts doing little bands, as I mentioned, to use the analogy again. And then a particular outcome comes out that we start to measure, which is one of the most challenging tasks, understanding and interpreting the outcome. But through this, we're able then to, like I said, have more accurate prescriptions and assist better in the understanding if a particular treatment was adequate for that person or not. So now let's look into the application layer. So the application layer, we created a generative AI application. Number one, a machine learning algorithm in which we started training it with all the different kind of protein structures and sequences. So we actually had 5 different types. The first was the genome of the particular patient. The second was the structure of the medical treatment. That means the particular bacteria or virus that was used in order then to create the vaccine or the treatment. Then the tertiary was an acting, non-problematic third, either microbe or virus. And then the fourth structure was a real attacker, was a real problematic structure. So we started then creating combinations of those 3 to see, can this particular vaccine really be able then to attack the real let's say, problematic agent or not. So what we were starting doing was generating what we call novel protein-protein interactions, and then start giving it with different therapeutic functions, different states. That means different doses. It's not the same doses that you give, for example, for COVID vaccine to a child or to an adult. It's usually about half. Similar things we were doing here. And then we started bringing a lot of different experimental data into the LLMs, and all the rules that we were teaching it before, that means the knowledge from a medical doctor or a particular chemist or a particular pharmacist, we were giving all this information with this different kind of functions. And then we started then letting it act as if it was doing a digital twin simulation of a laboratory in vivo testing. So this is also actually a very good application for ethical purposes, because it prevents any kind of human harm. And according to the state, pharma still is dependent from volunteers in which they want to, or they are getting paid in order to test something. So they're risking their lives. By having here a digital twin, that could be completely eliminated. So we created the Optima Bio, which is the cognizant AML platform for discovery and design manufacturing. So why are we using it for this pipeline? So it's got all these different scientific themes. Unfortunately, I don't have the time to go through all of them. We have then the different platforms that we showed you there before. And the most important part is our bioinformatics package. What is in there? So it has what we call this protein language model-based solution, also running a protein structure-based solution, which we call it cryo-IM. Why cryo-IM? Because as I mentioned to you, quantum computers are running at absolute zero. So this is the very first time that we create an algorithm that is made to run in computers at absolute zero level. So it's called cryo emulation machine learning. And at the same time, this is able to be tested again, where we're using it with one of our customers. I'm unfortunately not allowed to say who, for vaccine discovery and for the discovery of these product and development processes. And why were we able then to do a test? So the pipeline, we have antigen discovery, antigenicity, and immunogenicity, and antigen design based on the characterization of the genes. What does it mean? It means that he might have a different history pattern, as well as the different genetics. So he would have, imagine, a particular encoding, and so you can create a profile for that, for him, the same thing then as for her. But they are all very different. Yeah? They have also different kind of diets, they have also different kind of lifestyles. So that also gets encoded into what we get, the cryo-MM, and the particularly protein structure. So there would be a Gemini A for this gentleman and a Gemini B for this lady here. And this would be coming into what would be the bioinformatics package and will be then executed by the scientific teams, getting results within 100 milliseconds. Still, and the reason why it takes so long is because the thing that is stopping us to go faster and really be able then to mine it is the quality and the reliability, and of course the data check layer. So I'm going to go into one slide to show you one example. I brought more, but for time reasons, I'm only going to show you one. So how does it actually work? So what we want to do here is to see, well, is the cellular adaptive immune response is relying on the recognition of the T-cell receptors to develop the T-cell receptor specific protein language model, which in normal language is, if I give her the treatment, if I give him the treatment, would they have an adverse react? Or would it really work for them? So we started then grabbing our PCR model from before. So we started using Robert LM and the different kind of SME modules and our particularly cryo-EM machine learning algorithm in order then to make a prediction. And in the TCR is where we have all the different protein cell structures that we auto-generate. And from the very beginning, I mentioned to you before. Yeah, so the particular human cell, the particular microbe or virus, so the attacking agent and the non-problematic agent. So those are all into the TCR, and in the epilogue is where we started making the different vaccine treatment combinations. So from all of this, we'll be able then to make the analysis and bring about the outcome. Would this particular treatment be positive for her, maybe negative for him? So we created this protein language model. I'm going to go a bit faster this. So what we created here is then a research evidence portal, yeah, and an AI-assisted library for information, Cytontology, where we're always looking for partners that want to join our research in Europe. Because as I mentioned, and this is still at a very early stage. Because we need, the particular set, quantum mechanic scientists, mathematicians, computer scientists that would help bring us and understand if our research methodology and strategy is adequate. We started our one search strategy, and then we're using common and well-tried and tested data and machine learning quality and responsible AI methodologies. The frameworks that we're using then today. But the hypothesis that we have is that they might be adequate as long as we are following the same software engineering methods, process, and tool principles that we have now. But as I mentioned before, that might be not the final solution. So we have a solution architecture right now that's configurable and scalable. Nevertheless, a lot of research is still needed in order to prove this to be and be used by the industry. And that's one of the very last messages here. This is a task that cannot be done alone. And that's why we're joining forces with Microsoft, AWS, IBM to continue this research. And last slide. And just like a love movie from Hollywood always ends in a happy end. Also, then there is this happy end for this conclusion. So what we were able then to do is accelerate the true R&D for a particular customer. That means facilitating their drug discovery, optimizing their drug discovery, predicting molecular interactions with unparalleled precision, eliminating the in vivo testing and its ethical repercussions, and creating for the first time not just personalized medicine, but predictive medicine. That means the benefit for her and him within 5 or 10 years, when this will go on the market after approvals. And then, of course, it's why we need for the research. With me, don't take that. Do take that particular treatment. And I'm finished, and I thank you very much for your attention. Oh, sorry, yeah, you got questions? Yes. Yeah, what I was trying to say is that the beginning is unpredictable, which is the main of the challenges within a quantum computer. Yeah, how to measure it. Because if you look at the particular theory from Schrödinger's cat, I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but the principle that Schrödinger is mentioning there is that the moment that you look at the box, maybe the cat already moved, maybe not. And so along the observance point, we change the state of how the cat is, or maybe the cat is no longer there. So that is the first challenge. And that was my analogy with the movie. When you have a love triangle, you don't know which boy the girl is going to choose, A or B. And it's the same thing with a qubit. You don't know which state is going to be at the beginning, 0 or 1. And qubits are running in parallel. Maybe right now it's 0, maybe right now it's 1. You don't know. So that is the very first challenge that we have at the hardware level. How do we ensure that we measure the right state when we are knowing that is the reliable value? So that's why it was my analogy of that. So that's why my analogy went further. So how do we know which boy the girl is going to choose? Because a lot of things happen in the story. And there's different states, as we call them in the quantum world. So there is a particular, let's say, electricity state measurement, a secondary and a third and a tertiary, for example. We can do a lot more. Just like in the movie, one boy would give the girl flowers, the other boy would give her chocolates, one boy is nice to her, the other one yells at her. So you would know, oh, she's gonna go for the one that treats her always nice. So we go for the quantum state in which the electrical measurement is almost the same. So which there is in the chart, unfortunately, I didn't have time to show that slide. You could see, that is following one and the same pattern. And you know, that is the state that I'm going to trust. And so that was the analogy. Any more questions? I know you're hungry, so let's go for lunch.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your words. I would now like to request Dr. Rishi Rajan Sahai to felicitate ma'am with a memento and shawl. I would request Dr. Kumar Vijay to please felicitate ma'am with a memento and shawl.